to History Home Learning. Today we're going to talk about the Bow Street Runners. And the Bow Street Runners are a new form of law enforcement in the early 1800s. So if we just have a little cast our minds back to what law enforcement is like before now. Mainly we've had town constables and night watchmen and justices of the peace. We know that town constables and the night watchmen were not paid, so they're not going to be that motivated to do the job. I mean, I'm not saying that nobody cared about their job if you were a town constable. However, most people were like, yeah, got to get that volunteering role done. They weren't that motivated. So that causes problems. If you're not being paid for something, maybe you're not going to be that efficient at it. You're not going to track the criminals down through hell and high water to get there. Just isn't going to happen. So that was one of the major problems with town constables and night watchmen. We also had justices of the peace who were fairly reliable and they're fairly competent. The issue with those is that it was slightly different in every area of the country. It wasn't very consistent. So that was a problem again. Different areas had slightly different laws, they could get away with different things. So now we've come to the Bow Street Runners. And they were kind of inspired by a bit of a dodgy idea, to be honest. There were, in the 1800s, there were people called thief takers. The most important, well, most well known, was Jonathan Wild. What these thief takers would do would be to find criminals, take them to the courts, and make the courts pay them money. So, not that ethical, they weren't that professional. However, they brought the idea that you had to be actively seeking out criminals. You had to be patrolling. You had to be always on the watch for somebody breaking the law. Otherwise, you're not going to find it. If you wait till they've committed the crime, it's a bit too late. So that was where Henry Fielding got his ideas for the Bow Street Runners. So he's actually a lawyer, and he had his courts and his offices in Bow Street in London. So that's where the name came from. They were Bow Street because that's where they worked, and they were runners because, you know, they were running after criminals. So that was where that idea came from, and he was very successful. They were a little bit disorganised, so he did eventually get replaced by the Metropolitan Police that we know today, but they are the most similar to the police force we have today. And Henry Fielding was very ambitious, he was very astute. That means, you know, he was very on it, hardworking. And one of the things he did was he set up the Covent Garden Journal, which was basically a magazine to report crimes, to report criminals, kind of like Crime Watch today, or like the CSI investigation shows, but it was in a magazine. So if you were wanted, if you'd done something wrong, your face would be in the Covent Garden Journal. So it wasn't until Robert Peel basically stole his idea for the Metropolitan Police that the Bow Street Runners were disbanded. When Henry Fielding died, his brother John Fielding took over, and this is a really fun fact. John Fielding was blind, but he had been out with the Bow Street Runners so many times, he claimed that he could recognise the voices of 500 criminals, which is pretty amazing. So, next time we're going to move on to the brand new police force. Okay, this is a secret. I'm going to do a little secret competition. I want to see how far you got into this video. So, send me a message on Show My Homework if you got to this point, if you got to me talking to you right now. And the message, the password, the code word is going to be unicorn. Okay, so if you got this far, send me a message on Show My Homework. Just write unicorn, random one, and I'm going to pick 3 winners. I don't know what you're going to win yet, so bear with me. But send me a message, say unicorn, secret password.